What's up, everybody? Back again with another one of my famous tier lists that you have all come to know and love so fondly. This is an artist I've been wanting to do for a while, and then somebody suggested it in one of my comments, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And that artist would be Eminem. Yeah, first rap tier list that I've done so far. So, Eminem is actually, wasn't one of my... It was one of my first albums I ever bought. Not like the first. Like the first two albums I ever bought was Play by Moby and Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit. So judge me on that. Very weird mix. Anyway, Eminem, been listening to him since I was, probably 12 or 13 years old. He came around during that like golden age, like 1999 period, where you had like Blink-182, Kid Rock, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, and he was kind of like the bad boy of the bunch. So all the edgy little preteens and teenagers like myself really liked him just basically for that reason. And, over the years, he's tried to maintain that sense of edginess with varying results. Now, I would say there are 4 phases of Eminem's career, and I'm going to look at these album ratings based on those 4 phases. We have phase 1, which is his up-and-coming phase, where he was hungry. He was talking about his life struggles before, making it. And so you can really hear that hunger, and a lot of people will say, myself included, that is his best material and his best time period. And then we have phase 2 of his career, which is peak success, when he blew the fuck up and just became super successful and didn't know what to do with that success. And then inevitably phase 3, we have the fall off / the drug phase, and that was by far some of his worst material, but he still had bad material coming down the pike even after this phase. His final phase is his kind of comeback. I don't know. Did he make a comeback? Maybe not as much as his peak success, but I would say Eminem is probably one of the biggest rappers of all time as far as maintaining success and relevancy and just skill. I mean, the dude's talented. You can't deny that. So with all that out of the way, let's get into this tier list. Now, we have the S through D. S is like the top God tier, highest you can get. Then you have A, B, C, D, and so D is obviously the lowest. D is not good at all. So we'll start off with the very first Eminem album, Infinite. That's not even on his Spotify. The only way you can listen to it is really just going on YouTube or whatever. I'm going to put that in just by virtue of like just showing off his early skill, his hunger and all that. And just kind of as like a token of appreciation. I'll put that in the B tier. It was an album of its time, mid-90s. You could definitely tell he had the flow. He had the characteristics of becoming something greater, So I will give him credit for that. Now, if he had just stopped at that album and then never made another one, then this wouldn't even be in the conversation, and it would just be yet another rap album of the 90s that never blew up. But it did. He eventually got in connection with Dr. Dre. I think he did some freestyle on some radio show, and Dre heard him and was like, oh, I got to get that cracker on my shit. So then he did the Slim Shady EP, which isn't technically an album. And then he finally did the Slim Shady LP. I'm going to put this in the A tier. You know what? Actually, Infinite's going to the C tier. Now that I'm seeing the juxtaposition of Slim Shady LP and Infinite, it's going to the C tier. The Slim Shady LP was really good. I really enjoyed that album. That was the second album I got by Eminem. The first one I got was the Marshall Mathers LP, which we'll get to. But, he starts off with his infamous public service announcement bit that I really thought was funny at the time. Hadn't really heard anything like that before. And he continues that on his next album. Then it goes into My Name Is, which was like the first big hit for Eminem back in the day. And I remember when that song came out, it was like almost like a novelty song, because like you didn't know is this a serious rapper? He's saying a bunch of ridiculous stuff I have never heard a mainstream rapper say. You know, how you gonna breastfeed me, mom, when you ain't got no tits? It was like, whoa, okay, this guy's different and dark. But yeah, Guilty Conscience with Dr. Dre. I mean, if you're of my age, you remember that song. You know, anyway, probably can't even talk about some of the stuff that he says on there just because you'd probably the video would get banned. Anyway, Brain Damage, great song. If I had one wish, I'd ask for a big enough ass for the whole world to kiss. The skits I thought were fine. Role Model. I mean, yeah, there's just a bunch of classics. The Ken Kniff skits, the start of those, I loved that character. Rock Bottom, I still play that song to this day. It's just really about his struggles and, you know, just being poor and being from the trailer park. And it just, this album felt raw. It felt different. It was polished. It was great. It was a really good introduction into Eminem. And then, of course, after that success, he really went hard with the pen, because after that we got the Marshall Mathers LP, which is S tier, one of the classic rap albums of all time. On this album, he really leans into the Slim Shady character that he had developed on the first album when the song Just the Two of Us, on the first album, his girlfriend was dead in the trunk of his car as he's driving to throw her in the ocean with his daughter Haley in the passenger seat, and she's, you know, she doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, he's like totally and full on, like, this character is psychotic, psychopathic, and all the things that he says is extreme, and it's almost like a pose. It's almost like a character that he's playing, although a lot of his real feelings and real life like bleed into this character in a way that I don't think he necessarily intended. You know, I mean, he was really young when he was doing this music, and I don't think he was I don't think he had the foresight enough to invent this crazy psychotic character and keep his personal life completely separated. I don't buy that. I think his personal life was totally accidentally leaked into a lot of these songs. You know, the song Kill You, God, you want to hear like just a brutal, violent rap song about, you know. Anyway, I can't even say a lot of the shit that he says in this song because this video will get demonetized. Dude, this album went so hard, and I tell people about this to this day. This album went so fucking hard that they had to censor shit on the uncensored version of this album. There's like 2 or 3 bits on this album, I forget the exact songs, where they had to censor it on the uncensored version. That had, to my knowledge, that has never been done before. One of the lines was, because he mentions this later on in the Marshall Mathers LP Part 2, it was a line about, it was a Columbine reference, and the Columbine shooting had pretty much just happened at that point. So yeah, it was like a little sensitive. And then I think the other line that was censored was like, he mentioned some personal name of a family member or something. So yeah, I mean, you got this classic stan. I mean, the whole term standing for somebody, oh, I stand for Ariana Grande or whatever, that literally came from this song. I mean, it's a legendary album, you know, from a legendary rapper. The Way I Am, I fucking loved that song. I still do. The aggressive nature and how he's basically like yelling the rap. Like, I'd never heard anything like that before, like that raw and that good. And this is him like dealing with his I would say this album is in between peak success and still on the come up, but because, you know, the album had to be released first and then he became successful. So he's still kind of dealing with what little fame he had gotten up until that point. The Real Slim Shady, I mean, you couldn't escape that song in 99 or 2000 or whatever, but it was a good song. I mean, it still is. Even though the references are super dated, if you're a Gen Z kid, you're probably not going to understand half the references he talks about, but it's still good. Another Ken Kniff skit where he's basically making fun of ICP. And ICP have even brought this up in interviews before, that they thought it was great that Eminem was dissing them, because Eminem was like 10 times as big as they were. Even at their height of their popularity, Eminem eclipsed them. So he's like, man, we must have really got under this dude's skin for him to diss us on this major label album that sold millions of records when, you know, we're not selling half as much as what he is, and we must have really bothered him for him to put these nobodies on his record. So, then just Kim, which is one of the most brutal sketches in rap history. This was the prelude to the song on his first album where he actually kills and slits the throat. Anyway, I can't go too deep into it. Video will get demonetized. He kills his girlfriend on this song in a skit. And yeah, so, that was an intense listening experience, and it will never be replicated, quite honestly. To this day, that is a classic album, and it put Eminem on the map. Then we get to Eminem's peak success with the Eminem Show. I'm going to put that in the A tier, although I remember buying that album like the day it came out, and I thought it was pretty cool that I was like, you know, one of the first people who bought the album, you know, because like the day it came out, I was there and I listened to it, and I felt it got like a lot poppier, and he had like kind of lost a little bit of his edge, like already, like on the third album, I felt like he had already lost a little, and that's just how I felt at the time. This is peak success. This is peak Eminem success on this record. And you know, just some of these songs are just in, like, Till I Collapse on Spotify, it's literally got over 1 billion plays. So I mean, you know, need I say more? You know, White America, which is basically a song about how like his music has influenced all the white kids in suburbia, and it's not his fault, and you know, you should, you know, watch your kids better, be a better parent, and all that. Cleaning Out My Closet was him throwing shade on his mom, which is a theme that he will talk about throughout all of his whole rap career, is his bad relationship with his mom, his bad relationship with his baby mama Kim, his daughter Haley, the fact that he's always insecure about not being able to top the thing he did previously. That's something he brings up all the time. And every single record after the Slim Shady LP, he's constantly talking about how, you know, he's afraid of falling off or not being able to top his previous work, blah, 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 blah. That's, you know, also comes up in this album. Then you have songs like Square Dance, which I thought was kind of sucked, and Say Goodbye to Hollywood was kind of a weird song. Drips is disgusting. It's about getting a STD or whatever. Just really, I always skipped that track. Without Me, which was like the lead single of the album. A lot of people really liked that song. I thought it sounded really cartoony and goofy. I didn't really, again, like, for me, when it comes to Eminem, like, his first 2 albums will always be his best, and the only 2 albums that I'll ever truly listen to and get legit enjoyment out of. And everything after that, like, his poppiness and his, I hate to use the word sellout, but just to a certain degree kind of toning things down, it really turned me off as a listener. So, you know, every album after Eminem Show, I'm going to be less and less enthusiastic about, just to let you know. So, yeah, then My Dad's Gone Crazy. He actually has his daughter on the fucking track, like, you know, singing, My Dad's Gone Crazy. And it's just like, ugh. Why do parents, like, something happens when you become a parent and you're in the music industry. If you're an artist, you always feel the need to put your fucking kids like on the musical track when they're way too young and can't really contribute anything. I can think of several different artists that had their kids do that, and it's fucking corny every time. I'm sorry, guys, we don't care about your kids the way you do. I mean, yeah, they're fine, sure, whatever, but I hate that. Anyway, that's like just a side pet peeve of mine. Now we quickly go from the peak success to the fall off / drug phase, and that would be Encore. And There's like one or two songs on here I like, and that's the only thing that saves it from the D tier. Encore was when I just completely lost any kind of interest in Eminem. He even admits that this album was garbage. He started doing the fucking accents, the Middle Eastern accents, as he likes to put it. It was his way of bending words, whatever the fuck that means. So by him doing this like Middle Eastern accent, he could kind of rhyme words in a way that he couldn't if he rapped normally, but he overdid it like a motherfucker, and it was just corny as hell. Like Toy Soldiers was a really good song. God, then you used to have songs like Big Weenie, like You're Just a Big Meanie, a Big Weenie. Like, I've done a video on Eminem, and you can watch it up here or whatever, where I like break down the rise and fall of Eminem, and I cite shit like this. I mean, when he starts going into this phase, like, and then the song Just Lose It, like, that shit was so corny, man. Ass Like That song's funny, like, but it's like, bro, like, literally 2 albums ago, you were going so hard and raw and real, and now you're just, like, literally like a mockery of yourself, like you're a joke. But, since he was at his peak height from Marshall Mathers LP and Eminem Show, Encore still did really well. But if you look at the views, like the plays, compared to the Eminem Show, there is no song that's even near a billion plays. I mean, and look, I get it. Like, oh, there's no song that's near a billion plays. How pathetic. But for Eminem standards, as you can see, like, when you can see the people just mass exodus from your shit because they're just like not feeling it. Next, we get into Relapse. At the time, I had completely checked out of listening to Eminem. I didn't care anymore. So I only went back and listened to this album like years later when I just, out of curiosity, wanted to see what kind of stuff he was doing. And it's almost like he was always trying to, like, after Encore, I think he realized he did such a garbage album that he was always after that point trying to recapture that Slim Shady character, that crazy guy. And this album is basically like him recovering from all the drugs that he got hooked on. Again, in my Rise and Fall of Eminem video, I talk about like how he got into the drugs and all that. But this album was basically him like getting off of the drugs but still kind of being on them. Nothing really to stand out on this album. Crack a Bottle was a pretty decent song. It's towards the end of the album, but that was a single. We Made You was the big single off this album, and it again has this cartoony ass Just Lose It vibe to it, or Without Me vibe. It's just cartoony, and it was just like a joke to me. I remember when the song came out on MTV, I'm just like, well, another thing that Eminem's doing that I'm not interested in anymore. Oh my God, Bagpipes from Baghdad. Again, with the fucking Middle Eastern accents. This song was so stupid. It was a Nick Cannon diss, because apparently he had something going on with Mariah Carey at some point, and I guess now, or, Nick Cannon and Mariah Carey were together at the time or whatever. And so he dissed Nick Cannon on this song. But I mean, Bagpipes from Baghdad, just the title kind of shows you like where his head was at the time. So this album's an interesting listen just to hear where Eminem's headspace was. But it wasn't that great. Then we get to Recovery, and this album is markedly better than his last 2 albums. In fact, on this album, he basically says in one of his songs, he literally said, "My last 2 albums didn't count," and he's like, "I'm back now." And so there are definitely some songs on here that I like more than the last like 2 albums for sure. No Love is a cool song with Lil Wayne. They're sampling the Hathaway What Is Love, and I thought that sounded pretty cool. They had that big hit Love the Way You Lie on here with Rihanna that was like all over the radio at the time. Going Through Changes, I don't know, there's a few tracks on here that I liked, but he's gotten out of his drug phase, and now he's kind of in the falling off phase, even though he did have a hit with Love the Way You Lie. When I say fall off, I don't mean like commercially. Like, I don't mean like he's falling off in his sales or getting less. I mean, by all means, this album was like a big comeback for him in a sense. But I would say like culturally or socially, it seemed like people cared less and less about what Eminem's new project was. Sure, they liked the radio single, but like I never really heard Eminem being brought up anymore as like, yo, this guy's changing the rap game again. It's just kind of like, oh, Eminem released a pop song. Okay, whatever. And he talks about that a lot on here, about how he's afraid of falling off and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's just something he talks about like repeatedly. And it's just kind of like, all right, you know, stop being so goddamn insecure, you know? I mean, that's kind of like my takeaway from that. So anyway, shit, I forgot to put that in a tier. We would put Recovery in the B tier for sure. I think it belongs there. I forgot to put Relapse in a. What am I doing? Relapse. Yeah, it's gonna go into the C tier. I haven't found anything yet enough to put it in the D tier, but we're getting there. All right. So anyway, up next we have. What do we have up next? What came after Recovery? Oh, I want to say it was, Marshall Mathers LP 2, right? All right, that didn't quite live up to its name, but it was good enough to get into the A tier. There were definitely songs that I really liked on there. I remember hearing about that album coming out and thinking, like, what? Is he seriously going to do that shit that, like, artists do when they know that they're kind of, like, they need to do that big publicity stunt to, like, get back into the public eye in, like, a big way? And that's what I kind of felt like he was doing with this album. He even has the picture of his old house as the cover. Now, with the Marshall Mathers LP that came out back in the day, there were two alternate album. This is free, okay? There were two alternate album covers on Marshall Mathers LP. There was one with him sitting on the steps of his house, and then one with him, like, curled up in a ball. And that, him curled up in the ball was the more common one. Shit, there might have been a fourth album cover now that I think about it. Anyway, you'll see by the end of me editing this video whether I'm right or not on that. But, so yeah, he's using the same image, or the same house that I guess he grew up in, but it's like all old and shitty now, which I thought that was cool. That's like a suitable album cover if you're calling something part 2 and you're wanting to like revisit that time or that music or whatever. So the album opens up with a skit. He does a lot of skits. He's kind of big on that. Rap music in general is big on skits, although they're kind of getting away from that now. But for Eminem, it's kind of important to establish that he is full-fledged bringing the Slim Shady character back for this album. And songs like Rhyme or Reason, they sampled that zombie song Time of Year, and I really liked that sample. I thought it sounded cool. I just liked this album. There was a lot of good songs on here. Some stupid songs though, like the So Much Better, like my life would be so much better if you were dead or whatever. Just, you know, griping about bitches and hoes, I guess. That's another theme on later Eminem albums, is just him complaining about females who have done him wrong. And then the song Asshole, Skylar Grey, which that is his go-to lady for singing hooks. And I do want to mention, it started around the time of the Recovery album. We saw, from then on, we see the era of the throwaway disposable choruses on Eminem songs. It seemed like back in the day he put a lot more thought into his hooks in his songs. And I feel like from Recovery and beyond, you just got so many more throwaway choruses or hooks that just were there because a song needs a hook, apparently. A rap song even needs like some kind of a sing-along-y chorus, and he tries really hard to make these like sing-along choruses, and to me, they're just so disposable, so throwaway. If it was on any other pop album, no one would even care about it. And Skylar Grey is like his go-to chick to sing on all, like almost all these throwaway choruses. Now, the songs that get really big by him are the throwaway choruses that actual famous, well-known people sing, like Pink and Rihanna and Ed Sheeran. And Beyonce, when you get those people singing your throwaway choruses, they tend to be better written and people know who the artist is, so they're more inclined to listen to it. But Berserk is a great song, and probably my favorite Eminem song of all time, no lie, Rap God. Rap God is on Marshall Mathers LP too. Rap God is a musical journey. I mean, it's a 6-minute long song, first of all, so they probably never played it on the radio, but man, if anyone ever doubted Eminem as being one of the greatest rappers, as far as technical ability is concerned, Rap God is the song to listen to. Like, this guy is changing his flow and his meter and his speeds with just precision and skill that is unmatched, if you ask me. Just a great song, great music video. Like, that in itself, like, put this album so much higher up in my mind. Marshall Mathers LP 2, really great album. One thing I did also want to bring up is I feel like and he does it later on, like, really heavy, but Marshall Mathers LP 2 is when Eminem starts using the rapidy rap technique a lot more. Now, for those of you out there who don't know, I'll explain. Rapidy rap is a derogatory term, basically, when rappers are rapping really fast and they're rhyming a bunch of words together, but it doesn't really have a lot of substance behind it. It's like, oh, wow, you can rap fast, look at you. Busta Rhymes has done it. Eminem certainly started doing it later on in his career. And to a lot of rappers, that isn't really seen as like a good thing. It's seen as just kind of like, yeah, okay, so what? You can rap fast, but you're not really saying anything. He starts doing that, and he starts doing these really staccato flows where he's rapping like this and that, and he's rapping really fast. He starts doing all that. Like, he starts bringing in those techniques, which is cool to see an artist grow. I mean, you do want to see that, but it's cool at first, but man, it gets so fucking played out. And so the next album we have after Marshall Mathers LP 2, which is a shame because, like, that was such a good album. We got Revival, D tier. Revival was not a revival at all. It was a funeral. This album came out in 2017, and it is just full of bad, just bad songs. He's got the first song, Walk on Water, which is like super melodramatic, and he's talking about how, like, you know, if I had mentioned before about his constant fear of falling off, like, it just goes all in about his fear of falling off on this song, Walk on Water. He's just like, you know, everything I write is garbage, and I set a precedent that will never be, outdone, and it's, you know, come up with the best rap line of your life and then do it again 10,000 other times, and, you know, it's just like and then, like, Beyonce singing, like, I'm no Jesus, I could like this really, like, melodramatic shit, and I'm just like, oh man, this is, like, really corny. Corny in a different way. He's not doing the accents, at least, and he's not being goofy, but he's just being like, it's like, dude, get some self-esteem. We don't want to hear, like, down on his fucking luck Eminem. We want, like, confident, cocky Eminem. And then the next song, Believe. Do you believe in me? Like, so stupid. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, that was, like, so corny. Chloroseptic. I'm at your mouth like chloroseptic. Like, man, what a dope bar, bro. Got River with Ed Sheeran. I fucking hate that song, and I fucking hate Ed Sheeran, but because Ed Sheeran was on it, that song got played on the radio and got a lot of spins. Some okay features on here, but then you got the fucking Bad Husband by X-Ambassadors. First of all, nobody likes X-Ambassadors. X-Ambassadors don't even like their own band. They were featured on one too many Toyota commercials for me. So to have them featured, like, what the fuck deal did they make with the label to where they were able to appear on an Eminem record. He's, of course, got the ubiquitous Skylar Grey. He's got an Alicia Keys feature on the song Like Home. I re-listened to some of this album, but I just really had no interest in like re-listening to all these songs. But I want to say Like Home might have been the track where he like forgives his mom finally. Like the chick he literally bashed on like several records and talking about how he wished she would burn in hell and all this. I guess they made up at some point, and yeah, so that's the song that's he's actually feeling favorably about his mom. But yeah, this album, when it came out, it was universally pretty much panned by everybody. That's not why I'm personally like putting it in the D tier, but yeah, I just didn't like it. I see why people like disliked that album so much. And then like a year later, he shadow dropped this next album, Kamikaze, which I will put in the B tier. I listened to this album a lot for some reason when it first came out, 2018. I don't know. It was just like one of those weird situations where it just came out, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll listen to it as I walk through Walmart. And it was basically a response record. It was basically him like telling all of his critics, fuck you, you know? And I like drama. Most people in the world enjoy drama, other people's drama, not when it happens to them, but they like watching a car wreck. So that's pretty much what this album is. Although I will say the first line of the first song is pretty fucking corny. He's like, I just want to punch the whole world in the fucking face right now. And I'm just like, cringe chills. Again, he's got a skit with his manager, Paul Rosenberg, where it's kind of funny. Paul Rosenberg is like, are you just going to make an album, a diss album, every time someone says something negative about one of your albums? Because that's like kind of like the feel that this album has or whatever. Then you got the song Stepping Stone, where he officially addresses his split with D12, which was interesting, almost like autobiographical. You know, he talks about how, you know, he couldn't keep his own career floating and keep their career on life support too, so he eventually called it quits with D12, even though they're all still friends and all that, which that was interesting because, yeah, it's like growing up, it's like you would see Eminem all over the place, and then you saw his D12 group that he had, and then all of a sudden they just disappeared, and it's like, yeah, whatever happened to D12? So he explains that in this song, which is interesting. This album isn't so much good just based on, like, it's got really great songs. I would say more or less for the fact that it's just so, like, autobiographical about what he was going on through at the time, you know, and so I'd say it would be good for that reason. And then he had that song, he has that song on here where he calls Tyler the Creator, a word that I can't say on YouTube, fig, but, you know, more derogatory. And he actually like went back and like bleeped that out after the song was released because he felt bad about it or something. It's weird. He drops that word all the time, like back in the day. But you know, times they be a changing, and you can't use that word anymore without being canceled. So it just the way sign of the times. And then the last song on this album, I fucking hate it. Venom, gonna get him. I know a lot of people have talked about that aspect of the song, but yes, I totally agree. It was really weird and trying something new with his vocals, I guess. Moving on, the last album on as far as his major releases go is Music to Be Murdered By. I put it in the B tier, I guess. Slightly better than Relapse. Not as good. If there was a space between the B and C tier, then I would put it there because it's not as good as Recovery, but it's not as bad as Relapse. This is his most recent release. He released it during the pandemic of 2020. And you could tell on this album he's trying to cop a lot more of the current rap flows. He's doing kind of flows that you've never heard Eminem do before. And it's kind of like, it kind of sucks that he's like, but you know, as a rapper, you know, you have to do that. And, you know, he said in an interview one time with Sway, he was talking about, you know, I came up in a time in the rap world where everyone was trying to be different because that's how you stood out. And now, you know, he's like, it's got me tripping because, like, everyone's the same now, you know, like you have to be the same or else you're garbage. And So he's doing a lot of these weird flows on this album. There's a lot of fucking dad jokes on this, and he was accused of that pretty badly in his previous 2 albums, like Revival and Kamikaze. But man, the amount of dad jokes that he's throwing into these songs are just like, why? Like, why are you constantly trying to be like funny or punny, or, you know, lines like "Call us Long John Silver because we sell fish. I'm on point like my index." Get it? Like your index finger. I mean, the lines just go on, and it's just like I don't really see the need for it. Godzilla featuring the late Juice WRLD. That's a good song. He's again back at his rapidy rap, just going real fast, guys. I can rap fast. Doesn't want people to forget that. Man, I really hate my stepdad. God, that song sucks. You know, honestly, I haven't listened to this album that much. I just kind of gleaned from it what I got from it. The fact that he's trying to sound more contemporary. He's trying to, you know, constantly reinvent himself. But I never really, like, absorbed it. And then he releases Music to Be Murdered to Side B. And I haven't listened to this at all. And judging from the Spotify views on here, the plays are pretty low for an Eminem album. But apparently this is an official release that, I mean, it's just too much. It's too much material, man. Let people miss you for a little bit, because he also released that in 2020, you know? So I don't even know where to rate that. I'm just going to leave that where it is because I haven't heard it. So yeah, that's my breakdown of all of Eminem's studio albums. What did you think? What do you think of Eminem? Do you think this list is a good list or a bad list? I think most people would agree with this list. So yeah, anyway, leave your comments in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. And Eminem, if you got offended by this video, if you happen to watch it, I'm just playing. You know I love you.